Drop a like and do share. Leave your comments and do not forget to subscribe for more videos.
What's up, guys? This is Manoj Guptani. I welcome you all on behalf of the Edipedia world. Perfect, guys. Let's mark the beginning of this wonderful presentation with the first topic of the day. Fasten up your seatbelts. We are about to take off with the first topic, and that will be what are the types of investigation. So, by now we have already covered two of our presentations in which I've thoroughly made you understand about various topics about investigation. I'll mark my beginning of this presentation with what are the different types of investigation. Investigations are classified under majorly two categories. One, investigation which is done on behalf of the statute, that is statutory investigation. The other one being the one that is non-statutory, which is not done on behalf of a statute, but there is a person who has basically compelled or asked the investigator to investigate on his behalf or the persons other than the statute. That is something which is being done under non-statutory cases. So, if I'll talk about the statutory one, its main thing is to investigate into the affairs of a company. And second, to have the investigation done for the ownership of the company. And both these investigations are being covered under the Companies Act 2013. They primarily ask you for, as far as the statutory point of view of investigation is concerned, there is number one, that they need to investigate into the affairs of the company. And number two, they need to investigate of the ownership of company. That is number one, which is statutory. Now, the next thing comes being in as non-statutory part. Okay. So, what all are the different investigations that form part of the non-statutory investigation? So, number one, if in case you are getting some of the investigation done on behalf of an assessee who is desirous, of disclosing his income which has escaped assessment. There is an assessee who is basically desirous of disclosing his income. Okay. There was some of the income which earlier escaped the assessment and he or she was just not able to disclose that income during that moment of time. Why? Because of maybe some of the factors were affecting during that moment of time. Now, that person has now appointed an investigating officer, somehow, and on behalf of that assessee who is now desirous of disclosing his income that was earlier escaped assessment. So, that is something which will be covered under non-statutory part. Okay, nowhere it's been written that this investigation has to be done as far as the legal statute is concerned. So, this is something which is voluntary in nature. Number two, investigation on behalf of an incoming partner. There might be a chances that you are running a company or a firm, and you invite one of the good partners of another company to join your company. Now, that incoming partner is a bit hesitant in joining your company or your firm. So, he want that investigation to be done before in order to ensure that the kind of company, the firm, is he willing to join in the forthcoming ventures? Is it the right one for him or her or not? So, investigation which is done on behalf of that incoming partner will be called in as under non-statutory one. Number three, investigation for valuation of shares in private limited companies. Okay, so we all are aware of this thing that the shares of private limited company are not traded. Okay, we all know that. In order to trade any of a share, you need to get the company listed on Securities Exchange Board of India along with them. This problem usually arises only in case of private companies, wherein the shares are just not traded, and since due to the fact that the same are not being traded, it's very difficult to obtain the exact valuation of those shares. Okay, the company started at a share price of rupees, let's say rupees 10. Now it's been almost 20, 30, 40 years since the company is working, but still it's private limited company. So don't you think many of the goodwill appreciation and other factors will be involved by now, and the share which was earlier of rupees 10, 40 years back, now definitely is going to be of something value. Okay, so it might be 1,001 or maybe 2,001 or anything could happen. So, investigation which is done for valuation of the shares in private companies will also be covered under non-statutory. Number four, investigation on behalf of a bank proposing to advance a loan to the company. Let's suppose there is a company, it came at the doorstep of the bank and they asked the bank, bank, we want some of the loan. Will you be able to provide us? Bank said, okay, I'll be able to provide you. But having said that, I'll first of all go about inviting an investigating officer, investigating agency, and they'll investigate a few of your proceedings of a company. Now, the investigation which will be done on behalf of that bank who is actually proposing to advance the loan to the company, this will also be covered under non-statutory one. Again, then there are some of the investigation of frauds. if in case the company believes that some fraud is going on, they may appoint any of the investigating agency. And investigation of fraud will also be covered under non-statutory. Number 6. So next will be the investigation on behalf of an individual or firm proposing to buy a business. Now you got a chance to buy up a business, okay, and is it viable to buy that business or not? Just from the sake of investigation. I'm not talking about due diligence. That is something which I'll cover later in some of my forthcoming presentations. But herein I'm just discussing about investigation. So while you think about like proposing to buy some of the business as an individual or on behalf of a firm, so you need to first of all investigate into the affairs of the company or a firm first of all. Then only you will be able to get a certain kind of idea whether it's viable to buy that business or not. So you'll get to know about various frauds which are being going on in that company, and if in case you are able to bear the kind of risk of these frauds and other aspects, then you will think about like buying or procuring that business. But having said that, that investigation is imperative and which is required to be done in any way. Second last thing would be the investigation in connection with review of profit and financial forecast. So whether the figures which are being portrayed in the income statement and financial forecast, are they really legitimate? Are they genuine enough to finally accepting with the kind of entire standards policies or not? So investigation in connection with review of profit or financial forecast. And lastly, it will be the investigation for receipt in loyalty. So these are the major two broad classification methods. Okay, one is statutory, another one is non-statutory. I hope you guys got the complete clarity with respect to each and everything that I made you understand over here. Perfect, guys. Shall we proceed? Let's move further with the next topic, and that will be how does an assessee understate his profits for the purpose of income tax assessment in spite of maintaining the books of accounts? How can the understatement be detected? So this is something which is absolutely practical in nature. How do people usually understate their profits in order to ensure that they don't have to pay good amount of money in IT, that is income tax, even though they are maintaining books of accounts? So how can this understatement be detected? How you as an auditor or investigator will you be able to detect that understatement? How you can do it? Let's understand. I'll make you aware of all these things in this particular question. So the number one thing is, what all are the methods of understating the profits? How can you understate the profit? So whenever the accounts have been maintained, profits can be understated, guys, by either by the proprietor or his or her employees withdrawing money from that business. Number one. Number two, by switching over the profits of one year to another. That is something which you can do. Likewise, if I'll say, you know that during the month of March, you were able to increase your sale and you were able to book some good amount of profits. However, you didn't record it the same in your books of accounts and you deferred that revenue recognition for next year in the month of April. So what did you do? You somehow understated your profits for that financial year. So that is number two. You can go for the understated profits either by the proprietor or his employees who are withdrawing money from the business. By withdrawing the money, you'll be understating the profits. And number two, you'll be switching over the profits from one year to another. The following things are the commonly adopted ways of understating the profits are: number one, understatement of sales. Somehow you were able to book a sale. Let's suppose you were able to provide a sale figure of, let's say, 100 rupees. But somehow you just booked the same in your books of accounts as 80 rupees sale. So you basically went in for a method of understating of profits by understatement of sale. You basically reduce your revenue, and by reducing your revenue, you will able to understate your profit. Number one. Second, you were just able to book out inflation of expenses. Okay, so you are basically providing for the bogus expenses, the illegitimate and the expenses which are just not genuine, and you are inflating your figures of expenses in your books of accounts. You are keeping bogus expenses in the same. So you'll be again understating your profits in that case. Number three is undervaluation of closing stock. Closing stock valuation is extremely imperative to understand the amount of profit. Okay, if in case closing stock valuation increases, the overall profit increases. But if in case you willfully and knowingly you are reducing the valuation of closing stock, or you are undervaluing the same, definitely you are understating the profit in that case. So that's going to be the third scenario. Understatement of sales, number one. Inflation of expenses, number two. undervaluation of closing stock. Number 3 is good debts being written off as bad. Let's suppose you have one of your customer, okay, and his name is Ram. Ram has been like always faithful with you guys, okay, and his credit worthiness is just awesome. So earlier you used to classify the kind of material which you provide to Ram in as good debt, but knowing the fact that you will be able to understate your profits, you just turned and transformed that good debt being written off as bad. So this is something which is again illegitimate, and this is one of the method of understating the profits, that you are booking more and more of your debts being bad. That's bad debts. So you'll be again reducing your debtors, and by reduction of debtors, definitely it's going to affect your revenue, and if in case it's going to affect revenue, it's going to result in understatement of profits. Then comes omission of a profitable transaction. So you did enter into some of the profitable transaction at a very good level, but however, you didn't record it the same in your books of accounts. Then again, it is one of the understating statement of profits ways itself. And finally, non-disclosure of source and sources of income. Let's suppose you are earning some good amount of money from one source, and you are not disclosing that source or the source of income. So again, since the same is just not being disclosed in the income tax return and the department, so again, that is something with which you are understating the profits. I hope you guys got the complete clarity with the kind of examples that I was able to provide you up in order to make you understand the concept pretty well. Perfect. Now, what should be your duty as an investigator? I am basically supposing that you have been like taking charge of the investigation as far as this question is concerned. So, as an investigator, what should be your duties in various situations? Let's understand that. So guys, if you have been like appointed as an investigator, so if in case I'll talk about the understatement of sales, so your duty first of all should be that you need to compare the actual sale price which is recorded in the books with the average market price of that goods which is going on in the market during that period of sales. So you just got to know that the onion is selling at rupees, let's say 40 rupees a kg, and that person who is like a wholesale, who is having this wholesale business of selling onions, the actual price, sale price, which is being recorded by him in his or her books of accounts is merely, let's say, 15 rupees. So you just get to know from the market that the average market price of selling of onion is 40 rupees, and this man is basically booking the revenue at just merely 15 rupees. Don't you think so? There is some kind of problem which is going on in the books of accounts? Definitely, there is. Both of them are wholesaler, but one is selling at rupees 15 and the one is selling at rupees 40. So there is something which is mismatch over here. So you need to compare the actual sale price which is recorded in the books of accounts with the average market price of the goods during that period of sale. Number 2, you need to perform quantitative stock reconciliation to ascertain the quantity of goods sold but the sale proceeds of which have not been accounted for. So this is again that should be considered into as your duty if in case of understatement of sales. Then you need to make some due allowances for normal wastage, spoilage, stock shortages, etc. Again, you need to collect any kind of direct evidence for understatement of sales and make use of such evidence. Prepare an estimate of all such sales and a part of sales, misappropriated and circumstantial evidences. And finally, confirm the misappropriation from evidences like increase in the wealth of assessee or from figures of income from undisclosed sources adjusted by him or her in the books. So this is something which you can do as an investigator as far as the situation of understatement of sales is concerned. Now, moving into the second part, that is the inflation of expenses. So guys, as far as the inflation of expenses is concerned, you need to collect as much direct evidence as possible. You need to obtain circumstantial evidences available like, let's say, rate of profit which is earned by other parties engaged in the same business in similar conditions. So again, you'll get to know that what all are the kind of expenses that both these companies are booking in their books of accounts. So there is one company who is like been operating the very same business with similar condition, and they are not charging the expenses in some higher amounts. However, there is another company who is like charging anything as far as the expenses are concerned. So you need to obtain that circumstantial evidences which are available. Number 3 would be you need to inquire into any unauthenticated and abnormal increase in the salary of an employee. Supposedly, there is a person who is Ram and he has been like working at a price of, let's say, employment salary being, let's say, 5 lakh rupees, but for a year. But somehow, 3 years or 4 years down the line, he has been like appointed as the CFO, Finance and Accounts, and he has been like provided for, let's say, 50 lakh rupees. So again, this is something which is going to attract your investigation. So you need to check out whether there is some kind of unauthentic payment or some abnormal kind of increase in the salary of the employee. So is it the legitimate one, or is there some other story which is going on in that company? So you need to inquire that. Okay, what is the inflation? Why the expenses got inflated in this category? Next will be examine all increase where number one, traveling, conveyance, entertainment, and any other similar expenses. Why there has been an increase in these expenses? Traveling, conveyance, entertainment. This is something which is extremely crucial because these are some of the expenses which are usually done in any kind of business. So you need to ensure that why there has been like substantial increase in these cases, and see whether the increase is the result of the amounts withdrawn in cash and shown as business expenses, or are of personal expenses having been charged to business. So you need to ensure that. That is something which will be covered as far as your duty as an investigator is concerned with respect to the situation of inflation of expenses. I hope you guys got the complete clarity with respect to the same. Perfect, guys. Let's move towards the last segment, and that would be the wealth statement. So, number one was method of understating profits. Number two, investors' duty in various situations. And finally, wealth statement. So, for computing any of the undisclosed income of assessee, the investigator should ascertain, first of all, the increase in personal assets. The increase in personal assets of the assessee, family members, binamidars. So, you need to have that statement wherein you can identify the increase which is being done in the personal assets. So, there might be a possibility that the company is running into losses, but somehow their directors, employees, even peon are having like ample amount of money in their respective homes. So, again, that arose some kind of suspicion in the mind. Number two, you need to prepare a statement which would be like showing the wealth of the individual concerned. So this is something which is again important as far as this amount secretly withdrawn from the business is concerned. So you need to prepare a statement showing the wealth of the individual concerned, and then you need to estimate the living and personal expenses carefully, having regard to the assessee's standard of living. And finally, you need to estimate the total income of the assessee based on the aforementioned views I shared with you guys, to the extent the information is being available. Deduct from that figure the income which has already been disclosed to the income tax authorities, and the balance amount would represent the one which is income escape assessment. So all these things are going to be taken care of in case understatement of profits for the purpose of IT assessment is being done. In spite you guys are maintaining the proper books of accounts. Still, you need to maintain all these points one after the other. I am sure that you guys got the complete clarity with respect to what to be done if in case you find out any of the thing with relation to understatement of profits. Perfect, guys. With this, I'll say thank you on behalf of the Edipedia world. Keep interacting by our questions, queries in YouTube comment boxes. I will love to answer each one of your queries and grievances. If in case you liked our video, do give us a thumbs up. We'll be glad to know that. Stay connected. That will help us in understanding your needs way better. Perfect, guys. I'll see you with some of the fascinating and exciting topics in the next forthcoming presentations. Till then, stay tuned. Stay aware with the kind of fact which is going on in the world. Till then, sayonara. God bless you. I love you. Bye.